Donald Trump's been found liable for defamation and sexual abuse, not for the rape of E. Jean Carroll. But this is still hugely significant.
Yeah, people are astonished that it only took 3 hours to turn this around. And that, as they can do, and as I believe you mentioned, the defense attorney can ask the judge for a poll of the jury. That happened. That means they can find out if these counts were unanimous, yeses or nos, or if there was a fragmented jury. And they were unanimous, which also comes as a surprise because one gentleman that served on the jury admitted during, jury selection process, he listens to right-wing radio. Tim Pool, a big right-wing radio guy, and he said that's where he gets all of his news. And there were times at which during the trial, he had his head hanging forward. He seemed very disinterested. And so when they asked for that pool of the jury, even he stood up and said unanimous.
Wow.
So that really stuck out to a lot of folks.
And that level of information about the jurors feels bonkers to me here. I don't think we'd ever get that level of information about where a juror sits politically or the kind of stuff that they listen to or watch.
That is all done in the jury selection process because it's a much larger pool than those that are actually selected. And they're able to say yes or no, and they can challenge decisions by the defense or prosecution that wants to sit somebody on a jury. And they sat this jury, even including this gentleman who's a big right-wing radio guy. But you know what? This is what we do in the United States. You sit, you hope for a fair jury trial, you listen to the information, and you deliberate, in this case, in just 3 hours, and come up with the result.
Laura, we've had the post or a post from Donald Trump on Truth Social. He's responded to being found liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll. He says, in capitals, I believe, "I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. This verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time."
And that is his line that he's been using. He's been using that, whether it's the Mar-a-Lago document case, the January 6th case, the election case that's before right now in Georgia. That's what he uses. Now, it has worked. It has worked, even though there have been a dozen women that have come forward with very similar recounts of, in their mind, being sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. He's been able to, for 8 years, get the evangelicalists and the people that just want to hold their nose and vote for him to do just that, even if they're not crazy about his personal life. The question is now, will this make a difference going forward? Will this line that he continues to use about the disgrace that he has to go through this, that it's just a political witch hunt, hold anymore now that a unanimous jury has found him guilty of sexual assault?
Is it not the first time that Donald Trump has had to defend, or certainly send a representative to defend his name against this type of charge? This is the first time that a jury has had to decide in a case like this whether a former president is guilty or not.
Correct. I can't speak to if there have been any non-disclosure agreements and settlements out of court that we don't know about. We wouldn't know about that. This, for certain, is the first trial of a former president in this case, and that we do know. And that's what, it's a very sad history getting made today. It was very sad history when Trump was arraigned in New York a month ago. In regards to the falsification of business records. I mean, it's these are momentous occasions, but they're not good ones.
I must ask you, as someone who was a former advisor to President Clinton, Laura, how Trump moves on from here. So, under Bill Clinton's presidency, he was, found to have lied under oath about his consensual affair with Monica Lewinsky. That almost forced him from the presidency, of course. But there were allegations made by 4 other women that Clinton had either sexually assaulted or harassed them. They did little to discredit him. They were some years later. But I think that we can say that there have been, tinges of some of the same type of accusations around Bill Clinton. How does, I don't know whether we can compare like for like here at all, but have we learned anything from how President Clinton handled those allegations, albeit he wasn't in front of a court that we can compare to Donald Trump? Is there any comparison to be made there?
Well, Clinton was very much in the court of public opinion while that lawsuit was going on in regards to Monica Lewinsky. And as you said, a consensual, of-age, long-term affair. As far as his marriage, it survived, but with a lot of work and a lot of therapy and a lot of grace. As far as his, and that took a while, as far as his relationship with constituents, he came out on a live primetime address in August of that year to say, this was my bad. I did this. I take ownership for it. I want to repair this with my family. I want to repair this with the country. And that's really what he did. He and Mrs. Clinton did their thing as a family with Chelsea to get through it. And at the same time, he stuck to policy. He made sure that he was making strides with the American people. And that was even when he had a divided Congress, and he was still able to get legislation through and done. And that is, at the end of the day, what people judged him on.
That's an interesting comparison, isn't it, really, when we think about
such a high rating.
Yeah, so just to repeat that Donald Trump has taken to Truth Social and said, this is after the verdict, I've absolutely no idea who this woman is. This verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. Laura Schwartz, thank you. Go on, very, very briefly.
I was just going to say, not to be flippant, but if you come out and apologize to the public, apologize to your wife, you can move on. If you're honest, it has happened many times that people can move on. He's taken this another way.
Okay.